Morning. We will be starting the summit. So I just wanted to welcome everyone in person and virtual attendees to our first HBCU and MSI Funding Opportunity Summit. Thank you all for taking some time out of your busy schedules to be here with us today. I also want to thank the speakers who will be providing some valuable insights on FMCSA, their work, as well as the funding opportunities. To begin, I would like to invite on stage Dr. Stephen Arnon, who is the chair and professor of the Civil and Environmental Engineering Department, and he will be followed by Mr. Taft Kelly, who is the regional administrator for the Eastern region, as well as Dr. Georgia Steele, who is the regional youth administrator for the Southern region. Thank you. My name is Rachel Lamsa. I am the research assistant at Howard University Transportation and Research Center. I work with the department. Thank you.
Good morning. It's a pleasure to have all of you here. I would like to take the opportunity to welcome you to Howard University. This will be the first summit, and I hope it's going to be the beginning of other summits that we'll be having. Can we turn? Trying to resolve a technical issue with our audio.
You can use this, but I'm not sure if the people virtually will be able to hear you. This
One behind the Okay, so I think we'll have to make do with what we have. We'll try and resolve this as soon as possible. So to give you a background, Howard University is one of the doctoral research intensive institutions. We currently have an enrollment of about 15,000. The Howard University Transportation Research Center, that is HUTRC, we conduct research, particularly in safety. So our primary goal is to conduct research in safety, and that led us to engage with the Federal Highway Administration, as well as the Federal Motor Carrier Safety Administration over the past number of years. Our research is of national and local, more or less looking at solutions at the national and local levels. And we have been actually doing a lot of research that brings innovation and the overall goal of improving public safety on our local and national roadways. Now, over the past 13 years, we've been able to support several institutions, particularly our police departments in the District of Columbia, as well as the US Virgin Islands. Within the past number of years, we've been able to support them by applying for grants. So far, we've been able to submit 13 grant applications on their behalf, particularly for the district department, for the Metropolitan Police Department, as well as the US Virgin Islands. We do have about 25 years of experience conducting research in safety, as well as grant management overall. This is what we usually do. Our basic research is focused on crash data management, analysis and reporting. Most of our research staff and students who engage in our research are actually trained to be able to undertake these tasks. More importantly, we also have expertise in data collection and analysis. In terms of data collection, it spans from vehicle counts, speed studies, and anything that relates to safety that can be used to support any federal programs. Particularly, we also conduct the annual seatbelt compliance survey for the District of Columbia, and we've been doing that for the past 10 years. One of the other items, tasks that we undertake is grant development and management. Obviously, we've been doing that for the Metropolitan Police Department and USVI for the past 7 years. And we have been able to help them to obtain a number of about $10 million over the past 7 years alone. Again, we do conduct applied research, and because of our applied research in safety, we've been able to secure funding as a UTC. And recently, we were also partners with Morgan State University, as well as the San Jose State University for their UTC programs. On the crash data management aspect, we do use several database programs. One of them is called the Midwest Soften Solutions. This one actually helps us to identify high crash corridors and locations in the district. For the most part, we get our crash data directly from the Metropolitan Police Department that feeds into our crash data management software, which is MS2. In addition to that, we have a second database that was actually developed by DDOT, that is the District Department of Transportation. We use that also to analyze crashes for several locations in the district. And based on the crash data that we have, we prepare annual crash statistics reports for the District of Columbia for all vehicles, as well as for commercial motor vehicles only. These are some of the projects that we are currently undertaking for FMCSA. We are currently evaluating high-risk commercial motor vehicle crash areas in the district. And as a result of that, we are creating heat maps that will help law enforcement to deploy officials to mitigate any kind of safety issues that will be there. Now, the high crash locations also goes into the highway safety improvement programs that the District Department of Transportation undertakes. And that is also something that we undertake to support the DC. Another project we are undertaking currently is to develop a CMV route crash database. This is only going to focus on CMVs. And this interactive map is actually under development, and we will soon complete that within the next quarter. These are the agencies we work with. The first one, obviously, is the Metropolitan Police Department of the District of Columbia. We have done several projects for DDOT and for MPD, and we continue to do that. We've been conducting the MidSAP application and management for MPD since 2015, and we are actually going to continue doing that. We also prepare the annual and the quarterly reporting for FMCSA on behalf of MPD. So for the most part, MPD relies on our center to support all the FMCSA programs that they have. Another entity that we do the same thing for is the US Virgin Islands Police Department. We support their grant applications, and we also supported their crash data management software in 2019. We also work directly with FMCSA. We've been able to secure funding for CMV safety research. And one of the pieces that we are also going to undertake going forward, which is the byproduct of this summit, will be to promote HBCU's involvement in CMV safety. So we would actually be doing hands-on technical training for all HBCUs who are interested, and we encourage them, and MSIs, we encourage them to get in touch with us and so that we can engage them to apply for CMV safety grants. The next agency we work with is the District Department of Transportation. We have a slew of projects that we undertake for them, particularly all the traffic safety and operations in the District of Columbia comes through our center. If you happen to be in the District of Columbia and you're driving and you see a speed hump, most likely it came as a recommendation of what we actually took. So we have several programs for DDOT. One of the other programs that we also undertake for DDOT is the Summer Transportation Institute, and we also have an internship program which engages undergraduates and graduate students in the region to be able to be involved in any safety projects. We also have two main projects that we are undertaking directly with NHTSA. This is the annual annual seatbelt compliance survey for the district. We've been doing that since 2010. This is part of the safety programs that DC has to undertake. Now, we are recently developing a bicycle near miss tracker. That is an application that bicyclists can actually report any near misses that they experience on the roads in the District of Columbia. That application will be potentially going live by the end of the year. Like I said earlier on, we do a lot of data collection, and as a result of that, we've been able to obtain several data collection equipment. Most of the students who we engage, we do train them on these equipment so that they can go in the field and actually install them to collect any pertinent data that will be used for safety analysis. And these are all some of the equipment that we use to collect those data. One big piece that we often use as part of the grants that we obtain from FMCSA and FHWA is workforce development. Now, our workforce development is not just for graduates and undergraduate students. We start at the grassroots level. This is more or less involving middle and high school students, engaging them in a lot of safety projects. They do get exposed to some of the transportation industry career focus. So that is also something that we undertake on an annual basis. The next one is workforce development, this time at the undergraduate and graduate internship level at the District Department of Transportation. Currently, we have about 16 students who have actually been recruited and working on several safety research projects at DDOT. These are some of the research ideas that we have, and we will be very happy to work with our partners, HBCU partners and MSIs, to come up with research ideas, safety research ideas for FMCSA. In that case, what we will do is hold their hands and provide any technical support that they may need. Now, one of them would be to determine the economic impact of CMV crashes in DC. We haven't undertaken that research yet, so it is an idea that we conceived, and we think that several HBCUs and MSIs can undertake such research safety projects for FMCSA. We are currently undertaking two research projects for FMCSA. One of them is the influence of pavement conditions on CMV crashes. We are looking at RI, PCI, that is International Roughness Index, Pavement Condition Index, to determine whether they have a direct relationship with crashes on DC roadways. Like I said earlier on, one of the benchmarks of our program is workforce development. We currently have several students who are benefiting from this FMCSA grant. Particularly, what actually touches my heart for the most part is the fact that the FMCSA grants and the safety research dollars that we get from FMCSA support our students, underrepresented students, by providing them with stipends, providing them with tuition, and this actually increases our retention and also helps them to actually graduate. Now, I didn't want to speak for the students, so what I did was I had some of them actually do a video to actually tell you how supportive these grants have been. Okay. My technical guy is on his way. Is it coming through? So to put this in context, that is the lady sitting right there. Marilyn, can you get up? So we have another student who also, so that is what we have for our interns and our research assistants. The program and the support that we get from the Federal Motor Carrier Safety Administration supports our students, and it actually helps them to stay in school. I can't emphasize enough the benefits of these safety program grants that we get from FMCSA. It has gone a long way to help a lot of our students over the past 13 years. I basically, sometimes I just get emotional when it comes to these things, because in some cases we recruit and retain students who are actually on the verge of dropping out of college. And as a result of these grants, we are able to support students to keep them in school for them to become future workforce for FMCSA and the safety industry. So with that, I would like to introduce my good friend, Mr. Taft Kelly.
Good morning, everyone, and thanks for attending. Do a special thanks to the team from Howard University, who has done an outstanding job in the preparation for this summit. And I would be remiss if I didn't thank the FMCSA team as well, who has worked closely with Howard University in this very short period of time to put on this successful HBCU summit. I would like to thank Madison Lumpkin, the Division Administrator for the District of Columbia, Mr. Bernard McWay, who's working in the District of Columbia, Francesca Glaston, and Richard Johnson, both HBCU alums that works in our grant office to make this possible. And I can't begin any discussion without thanking Dr. Aaron. Dr. Aaron, who has worked for many, many years in making Howard University Transportation Research and Data Center a reality. Now, when I speak, I like to frame things up so that we actually know exactly what we're here to discuss. One, that trucks move about 72.5% of American freight and account for shipment of almost 85% of all online transactions. Trucks move 11.46 billion tons of freight in the year 2022. The industry collects 80.7% of the nation's freight bill, generating more than $940 billion. Take this for example. If the trucking industry stop moving groceries today, your grocery stores will be empty in 3 days. Wow. Females account for approximately 14%, women, account for approximately 14% of all truck drivers nationally. 8.4 million registered commercial motor vehicles on our nation's roadway. This is a job and enough space for everyone to join. Howard University Transportation Research Center has provided transportation-related research to a myriad of district and federal agencies that provide critical transportation-related studies and projects, not only with DDOT, DC DMV, the driver's license agency, Metropolitan Police Department, Federal Highway Administration, Federal Motor Carrier Safety Administration, Federal Transit Administration, the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration, just to name some of the partners that the Howard University Transportation Center has performed outstanding work. We believe here at the center that safety, security, and mobility is important. And it's not only important in the District of Columbia, it is important where you are at too. So I would like to begin my discussion today about the purpose and the history of the Howard University Transportation Research Center. You see, about 25 years ago, I was a division administrator in the District of Columbia. Dr. Aaron was a graduate student. You see, I went to Dr. Aaron's boss with this vision about how do we create a sustainable entity that can provide for transportation-related research in the areas of safety, security, and mobility. You see, we was co-located, FMCSA, with Federal Highway and Federal Transit. We worked closely with them. Now, the district did good work, but I always believe that you have to go to better, and finally we'll get to best. And so while we was challenged with being a data-driven agency, and we was challenged with accurate and timely reporting, all of these federal agencies are geared towards meeting those requirements. I saw an opportunity to engage the best and the brightest. in the field of transportation, which is interdisciplinary. That means all majors can participate in transportation-related work. It's more than asphalt, concrete, and steel. It's more than engineering. And that we can bring about a diverse group of skill set to move us forward. So our partners all had the same expectation that I shared, the leadership of these various federal agencies. So we wanted to get from good to better to best. So the idea of the center came about, to have a cross-functional team that was focused on transportation, safety, security, and mobility in the District of Columbia, that will talk about improved crash data analysis, planning, reporting, data improvement, surveys, freight planning, education and outreach program, transportation safety and enforcement evaluation. So I said to Dr. Aaron's predecessor, Dr. Noel, I said, and I would like this center to be staffed with undergraduate, graduate, and postdoctoral students with support and direction from faculty, thus creating a ladder of opportunity for students for potential careers in transportation. Yeah, I'm talking about a pipeline. That's what I was looking to do, is to develop a pipeline into a transportation-related career. Being that the field is interdisciplinary, we can take finance majors, we can take business and marketing because we're trying to change the culture of safety. We need engineers as well, but that is not the only skill that is needed in transportation. So we took this and we value diversity, and all academic majors was invited to join and play a role in this. You see, the center would focus on providing the District of Columbia government the much needed resources that it needed at the time, and that it would bring about talented individuals that could add value to what we was trying to do, and it has done that. The great work that the Howard University Transportation Center has done is a model that can be replicated and duplicated elsewhere. That is why you were invited today, because I believe, just like here, we can replicate and duplicate this model elsewhere. You see, currently, the National Roadway Safety Strategy directs the Department of Transportation employees, such as myself, to adopt a zero fatal goal, a zero fatal. This means that we must develop partnerships with new partners and institutions to accomplish our goals. You see, underserved communities are not only underserved by funding, but we are overrepresented in fatals and crashes. So when we discuss safety funding, we need to address underrepresentation. And when we look at fatals, we need to address overrepresentation in that area. You see, I share Secretary Buttigieg and Administrator Hutchinson belief that no one should die when they use our highway system and road network. Now, who is better to address these problems in these communities than HBCUs and MSIs? They are in the community in which they serve. I once heard someone say community universities. And so that is where we are. So the National Roadway Safety Strategy, it talks about safer roads, safer vehicles, safer speed, safer drivers, and post-crash care. This topic discussed that we need greater collaboration with all that is involved. You know, collaboration is what is so amazing about our program is that they work with other universities. The young lady that first spoke, she's at Trinity College. We can cluster these universities together. I may not be able to do it all, but there may be a partner universities in my state, in my network, in my neighborhood that can help address it. So don't think that transportation is about engineering. You can dissect some of these grant applications and develop partnerships with those. And you'll probably hear more about that today. But we need to look at what can value added that you can bring and partner in order to accomplish the goal. Now, let me just share some things with you. Improving seatbelt use. How do you improve seatbelt use in your community? That's a potential grant application. Speed compliance. We talked about workforce, or Dr. Aaron talked about workforce development, freight planning, changing the culture of safety are useful efforts in order for the department to get to zero. Now, what is the benefit? Yeah, I'm glad you asked. Expanding resource for federal and governmental agencies to the university community. A fresh perspective to problem solving. Engage and partner with academia is a good thing. It helps us all. And most importantly, it's a ladder of opportunity to a new generation of potential transportation professionals. You see, my favorite, and it's Doc's favorite too, is when we hear that a student stayed in school because of this opportunity. It touches me. It touches me then, it touched me now, because I know how difficult it is sometimes for students to have the funding necessary to finish their academic pursuits. So grant opportunities to HBCUs is a win-win proposition for everyone. And we are here to support you and to help you engage in the nation's supply chain. I'd just like to thank you for attending, and I'd just like to thank Howard University again for putting on such a wonderful event and sharing their knowledge on how they were involved and got started. And now they have a sustainable program where they are really one of the leaders in the area of transportation, safety, security, and mobility. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Kelly. I would like to invite Dr. Georgia Steele, who is the Regional Field Administrator for the Southern Region from FMCSA, to give their remarks.
Thank you. I am Dr. Georgia Steele, the Regional Field Administrator in the Southern Region. I have been with the Department of Transportation and FMCSA for 6 months. Anytime anyone asks me how the experience has been, I always usually say it's like drinking water from a fire hose, but I learn something new every single day. Let me tell you what I learned today. Don't be the person to speak after Taft Kelly. That is some big shoes to fill. Taft, I want to thank you for the opportunity to be here with you, to be a part of this. Dr. Aaron, you have done some amazing work here at Howard University. I just want to share a little bit of my personal story. I was actually accepted to Howard when I came from Jamaica to the United States. I did not take the opportunity then. I was sharing with a friend that if I had gone to Howard, I probably would never have met her. And so the opportunity for that now moment was to stay in New York and go to school. But I want to talk about the opportunity of now. We have Department of Education designated 107 schools as HBCUs. There are 77 of them within the Southern region, which means for the South, we have an opportunity to change the face of transportation in our nation. And so what I've asked is that for every state that falls within the Southern region, for at least one attendee on the session today to be from our states. So I want for every university, every student, every researcher, every professor that is on the session today to realize that the South is here to be a part of this. This is a personal investment, but this is also an investment for the team. Nothing, no number matters more to me than zero. As a daughter of a truck driver, as an immigrant, as a woman of color, that matters to me. When I'm seeing numbers that reflect that, persons of color are coming in, well, actually, I'll speak to this first because I am a mother. Anytime someone's like, oh, tell me about yourself, the first thing I talk about is my son. Black children between the age of 14 to 15 have the highest rate of fatalities in our nation when it comes to pedestrian type of fatalities. Unacceptable. And I'm not just speaking as an FMCSA employee, I'm speaking as a mother. I'm speaking as someone who looks and sees children running around and being able to appreciate the life and the opportunity that they have to live. So I would hope that, as we continue to look at opportunities to enhance what we do in terms of our data, enhance how we use AI. I know it's this frightening space right now where people are like, oh, it's going to, shift the nation or shift the world and we won't be able to use it. We're seeing what it can do. You're showing mapping, you're showing heat maps, you're showing drop points of where we need to focus efforts, where law enforcement can partner and use numbers to actually make impact. And that's what we're here to do, right? Use the opportunity to make impact. And so for my FMCSA counterparts that are here in the room, for the individuals that are online with us as well, I just wanted to say thank you for being here. Thank you for being a part of the work that we're doing to create safer roads, safer speeds, safer vehicles, safer people, and also to make sure that there's post-crash care. Dr. Aaron, you talked a little bit about the grassroots work and just the passion just of watering that seed. So when I started in government, it is because of a crazy idea by former Mayor Mike Bloomberg. And Kala can probably speak to this too. Apparently he was walking down the street with some of his team and there was a leaking fire hydrant and no one knew who to call to get the hydrant fixed. And he said, why isn't there one number for people to call in order to make that happen? Very simple idea, very impactful idea, because that started New York City 311, which is one of the largest non-emergency telephone numbers in the United States. You call that one number, basically anything that's government related. That's where I started my job in government. That's what got my passion into transportation eventually, because then I moved on from that to the New York State Tax and Limousine Commission, to motor vehicles with the state of Georgia, and where I am today, covering a region that has 77 colleges that can literally change our world. So I'm not going to stay up here long because the pastor's already preached. But I want to say, and I'm going to look at this camera when I say this, for every school that is on here, for every HBCU that is thinking about doing research and you're not sure of what to do, you're not sure of what, how the application needs to go or how you can get funding, this is what this is all about. This is what this summit is here for. So make sure that you're asking the questions. We will make sure to share the contact information for every division administrator in the South. And you have my commitment that we want to work with you. We want to continue doing this because we need to save lives. So help me help you and help our world in saving lives as well. Thank you guys for the time to be here.
I would like to thank Dr. Aryan, Mr. Kelly, as well as Dr. Steele for their impactful words. For the keynote session next, I would like to invite Ms. Kala Wright, Director of External Affairs, Federal Motor Carrier Safety Administration, to the stage. Thank you.
Great. We'll just get situated here. Good morning. Okay. I'm really happy to be here and thank all of you for being here. On behalf of Administrator Robin Hutchinson and Deputy Administrator Earl Adams Jr., and thank you, Dr. Arwin, and everyone here at Howard University for hosting such an important event. My name is Kala Wright. I'm the Director of External Affairs here at FMCSA. And I'm really excited to be here today to kick off this event. And if for some reason you doubt my dedication, I did give up some tickets to the Jill Scott concert in Chicago. Be here with you today. Thank you. Thank you. I really don't need to say anything more than that. Okay. The Federal Motor Carrier Safety Administration, or FMCSA, is proud to partner across academia with others to discuss the latest transportation funding opportunities available to our nation's more than 100 historically Black colleges and universities. And how we can all work together, as Dr. Steele mentioned, to ensure that every federal grant dollar available through FMCSA is used effectively. This is critical. HBCUs are positioned to make strong and uniquely important contributions to the transportation sector, offering an opportunity to widen talent pools and diversify STEM research, ultimately helping to ensure our nation has the safest, most efficient, and modern transportation system in the world. And this improves the quality of life for all American people and communities from rural to urban. It also increases the productivity and competitiveness of American workers and businesses. At FMCSA, we have a big mission, and you heard Tal Kelly and you heard Dr. Georgia Steele mention it: reducing crashes, injuries, and fatalities on American roadways involving large trucks and buses. We know this work cannot be done alone, and as such, we partner with academia, industry, safety advocates, and state and local governments to keep our nation's roadways safe and improve commercial motor vehicle safety through regulation, education, enforcement, research, and technology. Right now, our focus areas are in 5 key buckets that all nest under the principle of prevention, the crash that never happens. That's what we're hoping for. And so we are pursuing this effort by understanding and addressing the root causes of roadway incidents involving large trucks and buses so we can stop them before they even happen. We're increasing the impact of our grant programs. The Biden-Harris bipartisan infrastructure law provided historic resources to make our roadways and that connect our states and territories safer. And we're working closely with partners across the country to support work that directly benefits your communities. We're also trying to close the loopholes in registration. We want to make sure we keep unfit drivers and carriers off the roads. And we're focusing on the future to ensure we keep a pulse on technological advances and the needs of the industry. We're always looking for ways to leverage technology to make drivers safer. And I know here at Howard, the same type of work is going on as we saw earlier from Dr. Aaron. We need to tell our story. It is critical as well for us to sustain this funding, and we need to continue our good work. We must focus on highlighting successes and showing how we're making good use of the money that we have now. All this work is guided by the Department of Transportation's National Roadway Safety Strategy. The NRSS emphasizes prevention and identifies action steps we can all take to help save lives on the road. As you heard these focus areas, I hope your minds, as Dr. Steele mentioned, begin to churn, thinking of your institutions, capabilities, and how you may be able to partner with us on these efforts. We need everybody. I'm talking to you. There's no time like the present to focus on ensuring HBCUs and other minority servicing institutions can contribute to this important work and have opportunities to make difference in expanding transportation infrastructure of our country. Resources made possible through the historic Biden-Harris bipartisan infrastructure law are making it possible for us to put our money where our mouth is. Just this year in April, Secretary Buttigieg visited Howard to highlight the Department of Transportation's $10 million grant to the university to support ongoing research in transportation safety and help build a pipeline of transportation leaders. The Biden-Harris administration is serious about this work, and we also are at FMCSA. In the last 14 months, FMCSA has had direct contact sharing our grant opportunities with just over 60% of the 107 HBCUs. And we are not stopping there. Our goal is to reach all 107 by the end of the calendar year. In addition to HBCUs, our recruitment, outreach, and grant teams have met with or attended events in the Hispanic community, Asian American Pacific Islander community, as well as underserved and rural areas. The bipartisan infrastructure law made available to FMCSA $3.2 billion in grant funding over 5 years, providing opportunities for us and our partners to develop and implement transformative changes to cut down on commercial motor vehicle related crashes and help us to meet the safety goal of the National Roadway Safety Strategy, which is 0 fatalities on our nation's roadways. We have made it our mission to ensure this funding is awarded effectively and equitably, and that deserving organizations and institutions are aware this funding even exists, step one. That's why we're here today, to ensure you know about the funding opportunities available through FMCSA's Enhanced Roadway Safety. And that's why it's so important I'm talking to each and every one of you, are here to further amplify this information across your institutions and within your HBCU networks. I'm trying to at once talk to you guys and talk to them, you understand. There are currently 37 national, regional, and tier 1 institutions that, as part of the University Transportation Center program under the bipartisan infrastructure law, are receiving a combined $9 million annually for 5 years. These institutions include 12 HBCUs, 21 minority serving institutions, 4 tribal colleges and universities. And FMCSA is proud to partner with these institutions in the pursuit of safety and a more diverse workforce in the transportation industry, especially in the commercial motor vehicle community. Later today, you'll hear from my FMCSA colleagues, Patrick Niemans and Tom Keene, sitting in the audience, who will talk about the specific funding opportunities available with FMCSA. And I'm so glad that Dr. Jahani from Morgan State University will be here to share his experience of working with FMCSA as a grant recipient. Our agency has a big mission and we cannot do it alone. As everyone has mentioned, we really do mean this. So we must partner across our stakeholders to get it done. But a bigger underlying note here is that it's important for the entire American experience to be represented in the development and execution of the work taking place to enhance American transportation. And our HBCUs cannot be left out. Events like this help create a level playing field and help make sure everyone receives the same opportunities. Opportunities for experiences that can lead to professional growth and accomplishment, as it did for Dr. Erwin many years ago when he was a graduate student. So please take advantage of the wealth of resources shared today, network with other attendees, and get those business cards and stay connected. I'm also talking to myself, I will be getting some business cards. Thank you in advance for that. Don't be shy to ask the hard questions and let us know what else we can do to further reach the HBCU community. Thank you again for having me today. And please enjoy the remainder of the summit. I thought about ending with like a Jill Scott quote to just kind of tie things, but it was really hard to pull one of those out from their music. So I'll leave you. Thank you so much. And I'm looking forward to the rest of the summit.
Thank you very much, Ms. Wright, for that very informative session. Just going to, I believe Dr. Sion Smith is online and about to share her part of the summit presentation as well. Before I do that, Dr. Smith, if you're ready, you might as well speak on the DOT equity agenda. The floor is all yours. I think you were on mute. He's on. This is not on mute. This is not on mute. This was not on mute. You're on mute. Dr. Smith, if you can hear us, could you try it? Still nothing. Can she call me here?
That's her video.
Hello. Can you hear me? See, is this better? Okay. Can you hear? No? With the feedback? Testing? Okay, is that better? Okay. Apologies for that. Okay, well, thank you, everyone, for your patience with the time with the audio and the technical difficulties. Again, I'd just like to really congratulate the team at FMCSA for hosting this session in collaboration with and led by Dr. Aaron and his team at Howard University. I think the partnership is one that absolutely should be modeled, and thank you all for your work and making sure that that our schools and our colleagues are aware of the opportunities. I have to say and make one important note. I've changed institutions since I joined the Department of Transportation in this role with IPA and serving as an HBCU coordinator. So while I'm in the transition of changing institutions, I'm now at Dillard University in New Orleans. I will rejoin our team in my IPA role in October. So today I can speak to what my past experiences have been, and of course, give some points of information and some tips to my colleagues here on how to best leverage this partnership and the opportunities that are being made available. I'll have to rely upon my colleagues, DOT, who are on the line to talk more presently about what the funding opportunities are, access and equity, because I cannot at this particular time, at least not until October 1st. So I will say in my time in serving and working in partnership with FMCSA and our HBCUs, there are a couple of things that I would really like everyone to take a note of. First, that when we talk about how can our HBCUs partner with the Department of Transportation, but also with the federal government, think about the assets that are on your campus, the opportunities that have been explained to you by the speaker who preceded me, all of the historical opportunities, not only in funded or what we know as restricted, but funded grant opportunities and awards to increase our scholarship, to increase our contributions to our communities, and to empower our students for the workforce, as well as to continue to contribute to our growing society, but also their non-traditional partnerships, non-traditional funding opportunities that we may not be aware of in our space as historically Black colleges and universities. And in some of those, that's where the term partnership really, really becomes important. That's thinking about how can your institution serve and partner with federal government, local and state. What are those assets that you have on your campuses that can help, and for this particular conversation, that can help advance transportation in your city, your state, your region? What are the assets that you have on campus that can improve some of the technology, can improve some of the tech infrastructure, specifically in terms of transportation in your area? And that means looking at not just our human capacity, right? The brilliance of many of my colleagues that I'm looking at today, and our colleagues in our academic affairs team, our research teams, their contributions, and also highlighting, showcasing, leveraging, and having our students lean into those opportunities as well. But also, what are some of the opportunities if we partner with our advancement teams? If you have a campus that has a small business development center or small business incubator or accelerator, how can we then reach across campus and work together and pulling in some of our minority or small and women-owned business owners in the communities that we serve, starting with our alumni who may be in that space? What are opportunities possibly to help grow some of those small business owners who may be striving to become 8A firms, or who may be looking to diversify their portfolios and include opportunities with the Department of Transportation? A partnership with our academic institutions and our small business community is a very unique opportunity, and an opportunity that really helps to position our institutions as well as help enable and empower our small businesses to really transform the cities, states, and communities in which we live, operate, and serve as HBCUs. And I'm sure that Mr. Kelly and his team will talk, if they have not already, more about some of those. But Howard University is also an example of that. Attending some of the conferences, things that you may not think, you may not think may be, viable in terms of a research opportunity, but it could be an opportunity where you can help and partner with the Department of Transportation and your city, your state, your regional transit association or transit authority in solving a problem in your particular area. It could be ridership on RTA. It could be particular traffic areas or traffic stops or traffic problems if you're in an urban community or a rural community. So again, thinking about how we can partnership. So I'd really say it would be a great exercise to look across your campuses and then look around your surrounding communities to see how can you create that partnership. That then answering those questions then leads to how can you explore partnerships with the Department of Transportation based on what those particular answers to those questions may be, based upon the results of your assets that you evaluated on your campus, based upon your evaluation of your community. How best then? That then also leads into one of the areas that I know this particular division, FMCSA, is concerned about and really focused on in a very unique and innovative way, and that's technical assistance and capacity building. How best can this particular department help you and your institution in technical assistance needs, in building your capacity to strengthen your community, to strengthen your institution, and to help you better target and build a strategy, a traditional and non-traditional funding strategy to really enhance your relationship or start growing your relationship with the Department of Transportation. One of the things that I think about and have thought about often in working with this team that's very dedicated to access, equity, very dedicated to in individual settings like this, as well as large settings in person, as well as virtual, really getting into our spaces on our campuses and educating, informing, as well as listening and bringing back information from our colleges and universities on all that the Department of Transportation has to offer, from career planning, on through to research, on through to recruitment, and even looking at our alumni who may have businesses or even career aspirations in this space. So I have to say it has been an honor to serve for the time that I have. And I'm proud to say that the effort and the intention from this department is comprehensive. It is top of mind. It is on every, just about every meeting notice and every conversation, how to expand and enhance these opportunities. And that leads me to think about a quote from George Washington Carver, that when you do the common things in an uncommon way, the world will stand and take notice. Our mission in our history as HBCUs, we have been doing that for generations, for over 150 plus years for many of our institutions, providing access, providing equity in education, providing a quality education to those young men and women and even adult learners who seek to contribute to our society in a comprehensive way. And in doing that, our mission has always been to also enhance and expand and build wealth in our communities at the same time. And so that opportunity is here again. I don't think there are too many new skills that we need to pull out of our toolboxes. We have the skills that we have the skills that we need. I think it's just looking at them a bit differently. So I'll go back to where I started, examining the assets on your campus, all of them. Your transportation needs on your campus, looking at the community that you serve, how you talk about and think about how you build your research and your research ideas, reaching across to advancement, your small business development centers or centers of excellence and innovation, or being an accelerator. And then looking at how can you, in partnering with this department, and be it a rural or urban setting, how can you partner and help enhance, improve, and expand the transportation needs in your communities through a partnership with not only FMCSA, but also the Department of Transportation on a whole. So I will stop there. I'm sure there are other speakers and stay on the line. But again, I thank you for this opportunity, FMCSA, Mr. Kelly Taft and your team, as well as Dr. Aaron and the team at Howard University.
I have two
Excuse me, we can't hear.
The podium is muted.
Thank you.
How about now?
Good.
Good.
I think now it might be better. You can put something in the chat if you all can hear in the virtual room. We won't be able to hear you for a while. Okay, confirming they can hear me. Okay, excellent. All right, sorry about that, folks. As I said, there is a lot packed into these numbers. Whether you're looking at the top line, fatalities from commercial motor vehicle crashes, or the bottom line, which are the fatal crashes themselves. Things like seatbelt usage by truck occupants. You probably don't know this, but 40%, at least 40% of the truck occupants killed in commercial motor vehicle crashes are not wearing their seatbelts. It's as high, it could be as high as 57%. There's some of the data that we collect on scene from the crash investigation where they can't quite tell if the victim was wearing a seatbelt, but we know at a minimum from the data collection, 40% of truck occupants involved in fatal commercial vehicle crashes are not wearing their seatbelts. Commercial vehicles are overrepresented in fatal work zone crashes. They are 13% of all highway fatal crashes, but 32% of crashes in work zones. So there's a lot to unpack there. There are many driver-related factors to unpack, whether it relates to driver distraction. The three most frequent contributing factors for fatal truck crashes are distraction, inattention, speeding is always at the top, as well as alcohol or drug use. Now, that's not always by the truck driver. I want to be clear about that. In many cases, in fact, in the majority of some of these instances, it's the passenger vehicle driver in the two vehicle crash that's engaged in the speeding, the distraction, or drug or alcohol use at the time of the fatal crash. But as it relates to both parties in two vehicles crashes, these are all major factors. So each of these is a separate research project, if it's not a program, and I'll talk a little bit about that. And I'm back off of, excuse me, sir, I'm not able to advance the slides again. Not sure why. All right, great. So here's the long-term challenge. We're doing actually pretty well. If you run these numbers back to 1975, the large truck fatality rate has decreased significantly. But since the Great Recession in 2000, 2008, it's been a different story. Probably not coincidental that the iPhone was introduced in 2007. I'm not saying that's the only reason or contributing factor here, but it is a significant factor as it relates to driver distraction in fatal crashes.
So there, again, there's a lot to unpack here. So how does FMCSA's Office of Analysis, Research and Technology contribute to the agency's safety mission? As I said, we do a lot of data analysis on crash data. We do a lot of data analysis on our programs to look at the effectiveness of the roadside inspection program, our traffic enforcement program, our carrier investigation program. There's a lot of work done there on program effectiveness and program evaluation. And then we do a lot of work in technology deployment. So proof of concept research as it relates to automated driving systems. And on the next slide, I break a lot of our categories of research down a little more for you. But as Georgia and others before me mentioned, this is all arrayed within the National Roadway Safety Strategy, producing safer drivers, safer vehicles, safer motor carriers, and then some other areas that we sort of bucket our research in. Okay, specifically, where do we invest our resources? I should mention on that last slide, we invest about 14 million annually in our research and technology deployment program. And I'll talk a little bit more about how you can participate in that, in this research that we do. Automated driving systems, those level 4 vehicles that you've heard about, I'm sure. We do a lot of proof of concept testing on closed tracks. We own 3 automated driving systems, level 4 vehicles that we test on closed tracks. We are evaluating aspects like how will that vehicle interact with emergency vehicles? How will that vehicle, that driverless vehicle, take commands from a roadside inspection station? These are things that the ADS development community is not, they're focused on it, but it's not their primary focus. So we are filling in gaps to do proof of concept testing so that we can have confidence that the testing they are doing on the roadways fits within the construct of, you know, if a police vehicle needs to pull them over, how does it recognize and follow commands from the police vehicle? How does it interact with emergency vehicles? All of these factors are areas we're doing research in that area. At a lower level of automation, level 1 and 2 automation as it relates to automated driver assistance systems or ADAS technologies. We're doing a lot of work on human factors related to driver distraction, driver fatigue. When you have these advanced driver assistance systems, how does it impact the driver's interaction with the vehicle? And we're looking at baseline performance measures for ADS vehicles. The developers say it's safer than a human-controlled vehicle. How much safer? We need to establish baseline performance measures for these vehicles so that we can estimate over time through testing how much safer they are in a range of use cases. So we're doing research there. We're doing a lot of research in driver health and wellness, fatigue management, medical certification of commercial drivers, as well as truck parking availability. So some of these driver wellness issues that relate to the quality of the work that the drivers do and what they have to deal with on a daily basis, because those things have an impact on safety. We're doing a lot of work now on vulnerable road users. That's been a challenge area for us as it relates to increases of commercial vehicle interactions with vulnerable road users. And I know with Howard here in the city, I didn't look at the District of Columbia's numbers as it related to VRUs and commercial vehicles before I came out, but in any urban area, that's an area of potential focus given how much involvement there is or interaction. We do a lot of industry profile studies on the motor carrier industry. I don't have to tell anybody about the supply chain challenges as a result of the pandemic. How the excessive demand at a macro level created real challenges for the industry. And what we saw were some dynamic changes in the composition of the industry. A lot of drivers that had been working for large motor carriers went out and started their own trucking companies to take advantage of what we call the non-contract or spot rates on the market, because drivers working for themselves could earn so much more in the spot market when there was excessive demand to move freight in 2021 and 2022 relative to contract rates working for larger carriers. How does that impact safety? Well, we know new motor carriers and smaller motor carriers have lower compliance with the safety regulations. We know they have higher crash rates. So this has an impact on safety indirectly. So we're doing a lot of work there. And then, of course, we do a lot of work on hours of service requirements with the industry, since fatigue is such an important factor. And it's changing. That relationship is changing as it relates to ADAS technologies and ADS technology, how much the driver has to be engaged over the course of a daily work cycle. So these have impacts on your ability to concentrate, your fatigue. We're studying all that. Very quickly, I talked about level 2 ADAS technologies and level 4 ADS vehicles. We're studying right now the level 3, where that's a really key area. Industry's been reluctant to engage on level 3. This is where you might have lane centering technology in addition to adaptive cruise control. So the driver does not have to be fully engaged at all time. But in the human factors context of this research, we need to better understand how long it really would take the human to take control of the vehicle. So we're doing some research there. And most of our research is focused on safety. I think you saw that in the previous slide, but we do support the department's strategic goals in a range of other areas, from climate and sustainability. We're looking at the feasibility of at full speed or at highway speed electronic inspections of commercial drivers and vehicles. There's a climate benefit to that, there's a safety benefit to that, and there's an efficiency benefit to industry from that. So we're doing a lot of work in what we call level 8 inspection program feasibility right now. Obviously, truck parking is a big area for us. We do work with the states. The states provide inspection and crash data to us on a continual basis. So we look at the data quality of the information they send us, accuracy, completeness, and timeliness. We do a lot of work in that area. As it relates to equity, you heard the previous speakers talk about involvement or the distributional impacts of large truck and bus crashes. We're studying that in more depth now, combining data sets to look at the distributional impacts. We're also looking at equity in commercial vehicle inspections and traffic enforcement. And then I mentioned the supply chain work that we're doing now. Okay, so to those participating today, I want to mention to you the timing for this could not be more perfect. So I want to thank again Tav and Dr. Aaron for the invitation, because we are at a pivotal point in the research we do in FMCSA and working with our nonprofit and university partners in this research to support FMCSA's mission. We're really at a critical point here. We are more than halfway through our indefinite delivery, indefinite quantity, or IDIQ contract, which is a $24 million 5-year contract, where we have a range of contractor teams. We have 5 distinct contractor teams. And we funnel most, or a good portion, a majority of our research and technology deployment funding through this IDIQ vehicle, because it saves paperwork for us. If we get the team signed up on this IDIQ contract, then we can issue specific task orders for a range of research on the topics I mentioned in the previous slide. And they're much quicker. We don't have to do a separate contract for each initiative we undertake. That's the value of these multi-year, multi-million-dollar contracts, is they're much more efficient, and we can bring on a much larger group of partners in the partnership for our safety mission. So we're more than halfway through, but we are working towards announcing a new IDIQ contract and then going through the process for that. These are the categories of research that we have under our current IDIQ contract. These just divide up into human factors related research, ADS or technology deployment work. We also have another category for simulator studies, human fatigue and performance. And then in that lower left-hand corner, that's all the data analysis we're doing with our data and external data to better understand the relationship of many different driver, vehicle, carrier-related factors to commercial vehicle safety. So I would suggest that's a guidepost for the next contract, although we're looking to do a few things differently. I do want to mention on August 1st, we will have an information webinar for all potentially interested partners in the university and nonprofit sector. That middle QR code is the Eventbrite registration. I'd encourage you to sign up for this August 1st webinar. It's an overview of this new IDIQ contract. On the left is SAM registration. That replaces the Dun & Bradstreet or D&B number that all partner entities are required to have to partner with us. We just put that up for your information if you're new to this area. The Eventbrite registration's in the middle, and then if you use the QR code on the right, you will have an overview of our analysis, research, and technology, or our website. And I have a few handouts I brought with me. I'll leave those today for any interested parties in the room that want to pick up this information with the QR codes. And I would encourage you to participate on August 1st. And last but not least, I think the other speakers mentioned it, but I want to reiterate this, looking for partnerships with the HBCU community for summer internships. We have a range of internships, from our Pathways internship and recent graduate program to our summer transportation internship program for diverse groups, or our STIPDIG internship program. We have a secretarial internship program, or SIP, and we have the FLIP program. I don't know the full name of the FLIP internship program. However, we have a range of opportunities. So I really encourage you to get with me or my colleagues for those opportunities. We're right down the road. If you're a local university, obviously here at Howard or up in Maryland or Northern Virginia, there's a range of opportunities we offer. And with that, this is my contact information, particularly people online today. Please feel free to contact me by email. Happy to talk to you about this IDIQ webinar, the IDIQ contract, summer internship programs, or other student internship programs. So, and with that, I thank you for your time. I should mention too, I focus my talk on research, our research contracts, and I know Patrick Niemans, or one of my colleagues, will be focusing on grants, which is another path to partner with us in our safety mission. Okay, thanks.
Thank you, team. And with that, we will be breaking for lunch. Food will be provided shortly, and we will reconvene at 12:30 p.m.
with myself. Also remove the spotlight. Okay. There. There you go.
Good afternoon, everyone. We are back, and I would like to invite Mr. Patrick Neiman, Director, Office of Safety Programs, Federal Work Area Safety Administration, to talk about grant opportunities. Thank you.
Okay, great. Let's get started. You can stay there for me? Just for a while. Just for a while. I feel like, I don't know, I feel like it's a Secret Service there, making sure I'm okay. All right, so good afternoon, everyone, and welcome. My name is Patrick Neiman. As I said, I'm the Director in the Office of Safety Programs at the Federal Motor Carrier Safety Administration. Where's the camera? Here. Okay, and I am just pleased to be here. So before I get started, let me just talk a little bit. You know, we're all family here, right? So let me talk a little bit. And for those of you out there in HBCU land, thank you for joining us. Is there a chat or something somewhere? So always just send me a chat or just shout out who you are, where you're from. Before I arrived, my good friend Tara McDaniel said, "Oh, you're going to the other HU." So I said, "Oh no, I'm going to the HU." But I guess I have to claim Howard, since I spent about 4 or 5 years on this campus, which was it was a good experience for the most part. But no, it was a good experience. I think anytime that we can learn amongst ourselves with each other and have that knowledge to carry on is always important. So let's talk about this. We're here to talk about grant opportunities with the Federal Motor Carrier Safety Administration. But let's talk about this breakdown of this group, HBCUs. You know, when you hear about HBCUs, you think about lifestyle or entertainment. So you always hear Sean Puffy Combs. You hear about Spike Lee, Morehouse. You hear about Samuel L. Jackson, Morehouse. You hear about Erykah Badu at Grambling State. And it's like, wow, they went to an HBCU. Well, that's great, and they're great entertainers. But a lot of times you don't hear about actually what those HBCUs are doing. Right here at Howard University, you have this University Transportation Research Center that has just become a known commodity here in the Department of Transportation world with their recent award of $10 million. And Dr. Aaron still has that paper check behind his desk in his office. And you don't hear about the South Carolina State Universities that the FMCSA awarded $1.3 million to do their research. You don't hear about Morgan State University and their research that they're doing. Those are the things that, you know, you want to know about. You want to know that that's out there. You know, we hear often about the Ivy League universities and what they gain, what they're doing. But in this world of equity, we want to make sure that we understand what everyone is doing. And I want to applaud those HBCUs that are out there and that continue to do great work in the research world, that continues to work with us in the transportation world to ensure that we have safe roadways that we can travel on and make sure that we are safe. Every year, there's about 6,000 fatalities on our roadway. 6,000. When you say that number, a lot of times you're thinking, well, that's 6,000. I really don't know those people. but that was someone's mother, father, sister, brother, aunt, uncle, grandparent. That is a life. And at the department, our goal is zero. Zero. That is a very ambitious goal. And when you look at it, you say, well, why would you do zero? Because you're never going to get to zero. Well, if we don't have something to shoot for, we won't have anywhere to go. So that is the ambitious goal of Secretary Buttigieg and our administrator, Robin Hutchinson, and making sure that we do that through our National Roadway Safety Strategy. Should we talk about money now? Well, let's talk about a little bit more about FMCSA. You know, when
The
Secret Service is back.
back on?
Okay, we're gonna take two.
Not yet. How about now? I believe it was not sharing this.
Okay, for you communications majors, take two. Here we go. Let's talk a little bit about FMCSA. My colleagues probably went through a lot of this today, so I'm going to kind of go through it real quick here. The primary mission of FMCSA is to reduce crashes, injuries, and fatalities involving large trucks and buses. Well, here's the first thing. In my travels, when I go and talk to a few of these HBCUs and some other organizations, the first thing they say is, what is FMCSA? I didn't know you guys existed. You do what again? Oh, I thought that was Federal Highways. Well, history, we came out of Federal Highways. We're celebrating 23 years as an agency right now. So yes, we do. There is an organization that oversees large trucks and motor carriers. So that is our goal, to reduce injuries and fatalities involving those large trucks and buses. Some known fact about FMCSA and about the world that we have here. There are about 276 million registered commercial vehicles on our roadways right now. There's about 6.8 million commercial motor vehicle drivers, 6.8 million commercial motor vehicle drivers. And that covers about 318 billion miles. Now, this is what I'm proud of. FMCSA and the industry is responsible for 64% of freight that is moved across this country. 64%. I'm a transportation fanatic. Transportation touches your lives from the moment you wake up to the moment you put your head on the pillow. And waking up in the morning in that bed, putting your head on that pillow, the food that you eat, the transportation that you're in, all the goods that you have, the clothes that you wear was delivered through a transportation mode. So transportation touches your lives every day. And for us transportation specialists, it's a good feeling because we go home at the end of the day and say, wow, I did something that I can actually see. Now we're here, let's talk a little bit about equity. Equality and equity. Equality as it relates to programs. Sure, we gave everybody the same exact thing. Everybody has the same exact thing. And that has kind of been the practice in the past with a lot of different programs. Well, let's talk more about equity. Giving people what they need, the resources that they need so that they can be successful. And that's where we are in the equity world. And with the Biden-Harris administration and our leadership at the department with Secretary Buttigieg and our administrator, Robin Hutchins, they have taken this on to make sure that we are going out and we're spreading the word, and we are making sure people understand that we want to make sure that we are operating in an equitable manner. That is in the services that we provide, as well as the funding opportunities that we also provide. Now, under these executive orders, we want to make sure that we're touching each and every American, each and every American. And that does not mean that we're just going to go to the East and we're just going to focus on that. We're going to touch each and every American, each and every community, each and every person that we know deserves the same opportunity in an equitable manner. And my 16 months at the Federal Motor Carriers, I've had the opportunity from leadership to be able to travel around this country and talk about the opportunities that we have. I've had the opportunity to travel with the executive director, Dr. Trent of the White House Initiative on HBCUs for a Texas tour of HBCUs. So if anyone is on there from Texas HBCU and I visited you, say hello to me in the chats there. But we have the opportunity to go around. The important thing about doing that is we can talk here in Washington, D.C. about being equitable. We can always talk about things, but most people will say, yeah, that sounds really good, but what are you really doing? Well, we have been on the road and we've been listening. And I will tell you right now, sitting in my office, writing up proposals and how we're going to address equity, I think I do a pretty good job. But you know what? I find out when I go on the road and I listen to people, it makes me a better person and it makes me develop a better plan. So please stay in touch with us and let us know what you're thinking and what you need so that we can make sure we're building a better program for you. In this equity world, the FMCSA opportunities, we're going to talk a little bit about the grant opportunities that we have here at FMCSA. But here's a quick picture here of some of our grantees and some of our sub-grantees that are doing some work. I believe this is a picture of Dr. Aaron and his folks here in the Washington, D.C. area doing some work with our lead state program agency, Metropolitan Police Department, on some surveys of roadway. Also, Dr. Aaron in the Howard University Transportation Research Center also works with the U.S. Virgin Island Department to also do some of the same similar work. And we're going to talk a little bit about how you as an HBCU can hone in on this opportunity. At FMCSA, we have a few grants. So under the bipartisan infrastructure law, which was for the department as a whole, which was $1.2 trillion, 1.2 trillion. And when I go out and I talk about this, people say, are you saying trillion with a T? It is trillion with a T. Now, in the U.S. Department of Transportation, there are about 10 modes of transportation or 10 operating administrations. We're probably one of the smaller ones. So out of that $1.2 trillion, under my grant program, I just have a little small amount under the bipartisan infrastructure law of $3.2 billion. Can you imagine how much $3.2 billion is and what it can do to change a life or change a community? That's why it's important. Let's talk a little bit more about it. Under the program here are the grants that we have. Our Motor Carrier Safety Assistance Program grant, high priority grants, commercial driver's license program implementation grant, and CMV or Commercial Motor Vehicle Operator Safety Training grant. The MIXAP or the Motor Carrier Safety Assistance Program grant is a formula grant that we provide to all of our states and territories. All of our states and territories. That is it's always hard for me to say DC as a territory, but all of our territories, so DC, Puerto Rico, U.S. Virgin Island, the American Samoa, as they told us when we met with them in Houston. It is not the American Samoa, but the American Samoa, and Guam. So we provide formula grants to all of those states, to the lead MCSAP agency. Usually these are our state law enforcement entities or a Department of Transportation that disperses the funds to those law enforcement agencies. There's about 12,000 enforcement officers that work with us for our commercial motor vehicle enforcement. Now, the MCSAP grant is approximately $490 million a year. That is dispersed again through a formula format to those states and territories. The eligibility for this particular grant is it goes to that designated state representative agency that is designated by the governor. And those lead agencies must have what we refer to as a commercial vehicle safety plan, or CVSP. So we're talking formula grant here. So HBC, you're saying, well, if you already told me it only goes to the states and the territories, then that shuts me out there. Absolutely not. Here's the thing, that $490 million that goes to usually those law enforcement entities across the state, you know, those are people that have a badge and carry a gun. They're not statisticians, they're not researchers, they're not, they don't do a lot of analysis, so they need help. So who do you think they're going to turn to? Usually they turn to those smart people, you know, the people at those universities and colleges that have these research centers or have these places that they can do all of this analysis for them. In this particular case, that is what Howard University does for the Metropolitan Police Department, who is a MCSAP grantee. So that money that they receive, they can use that to sub-grantee to work with colleges and universities. So if you're an HBCU out there, I would encourage you to visit your state, your lead MCSAP state agency, and let them know the services that you can provide. If you don't know who that lead agency is, please feel free to reach out to us here at the Federal Motor Carrier Safety Administration, and we will put you in contact with them. If you can go and do what we showed earlier, the various research, you can put cameras up and you can survey an area. You put the strips down and survey that. You do studies of high crash corridor areas. This is exactly what I talked about, the commercial vehicle safety plan. Those lead agencies, their task is to try to reduce those crashes and to make sure that there are safe and safe areas that people can drive in, and to go to our goal of 0 fatalities. How can we do that? How can we reach that? And a lot of that is through research. So you, as an HBCU research institution, can help those MCSAP agencies do that. The next grant is the high priority grants. And high priority grants, there's 2 that we have in this particular area, which is the Innovative Technology Deployment, we refer to as ITD, and our Commercial Motor Vehicle Grant. The ITD grant is basically an augmented grant to the MCSAP. So those state agencies, if they are dispersing their funds, taking care of let's say a high crash corridor area within their state, and they say, well, we can do a little bit better, but we just don't have enough money. Well, they can apply to an IT grant to ask for supplemental funding. And based on the project, we will consider that. That will go through the merit process of considering if we will fund that project. And then we have the Commercial Motor Vehicle Grant, or the CMV grant, under high priorities. This basically is to target safe driving, technology areas, innovation, and so forth. So under this is where, again, I mentioned earlier, South Carolina State University, $1.3 trillion. And I believe they're doing some artificial intelligence work in that area. If you can come up with innovative ways of doing things, as me and my colleague Tab Kelly was talking a little earlier, we talked about, well, what ideas can we give these HBCUs? What can we do? Well, my thing is, I don't think I can give you all any ideas, because you're a lot of a group of smart folks that probably have your own ideas, that can see what we're doing, and see what we're doing in some cases may not be working, but you have a better plan. If you have that better plan, if you have that aha moment that you can share with us that can change lives and save lives, we ask you to apply for these grants. And the Commercial Motor Vehicle Grant The entities that can apply for that, well, we mentioned earlier, ITD is an augmentation of mixed apps. Only those states and territories can apply for that. But under CMV, the states and territories can apply for that, as well as local governments, Native American tribal governments, institutions of higher education, nonprofit organizations with 501c3 status. So start thinking about the roadway as it relates to large trucks and motor carriers. What can you do to make a difference and make our roadways safer? Here's the thing also. So let's say you are a transportation center. Let's say you are the medical school. Let's say you're the law school. Let's say you are, let's say you're in political science. And you say, oh, that's all just transportation. It doesn't matter to us. So we're not going to apply for that. What did I say earlier? Transportation is universal. Everything touches transportation. Medical school. Guess what? We have this thing in FMCSA called hours of service. So we would like to know how fatigue driving affects folks. I think you all out there with those medical degrees can probably help us out with that. So take a look at what we're doing there. Law school. We're going to talk about another grant here in a little bit on the commercial driver's license side, but the legality of a lot of these practices you can put forth in your plans and your proposals. Political science, the practices, what can we do better based on what you see us doing? So do not shut things out because it just simply says transportation, and that may not be your discipline at a university. Transportation is universal, and you have the opportunity to hone in on that. Let's talk about my commercial driver's license world. Commercial driver's license implementation, our CDLPI grant. This is also a discretionary grant. In this discretionary grant, this basically provides, again, augmented assistance to state driver's license agencies or SDLAs to help them with their services. So, you know, the MVA or the DMV is not your grandma's or grandpa's DMV or MVA. You know, it used to be kind of that laughing stock back in the days. For those of you born in the 90s, you probably don't know what I'm talking about. But let's talk about, if you ever said, back in the day, if you said, well, I'm going to go to the MVA and renew my license. Back in the day, people used to say, I have to take the whole day off if I'm going to go to the MVA. It's going to take all day long for me to do this. Well, that's not the practice now. So through technology and through different innovation, the process is pretty simple nowadays. You can go online and you can schedule when you want to go in and renew your license. And you can practically do everything online. Why is this possible? This is possible because we at FMCSA provide a resource, meaning a grant, so that you can pursue that technology. Now, a lot of states already put in their budget to do that, but if their budget does not fully cover it, this is the opportunity through this grant. Now, the eligibility here, again, is pretty much the state driver's license agencies. However, if you are thinking in an innovative fashion, again, the eligibility is open to state courts, law enforcement, departments of transportation, institutions of higher education, Native American tribal governments, and nonprofits. If you have an idea how to improve the commercial driver's license experience, then we want your ideas. In this commercial driver's license space, it is not just about getting that commercial driver's license. It's about improving the process. It's about the educational aspect of it as well. How can we improve the testing? How can we ensure that there's not fraud in testing? Believe it or not, people actually cheat when they go take these CDL tests or the regular driver's license tests because they have an earbud in their ear or they have the glasses now that can see things and someone's telling them the answer. Well, we want to make sure that everyone who is on our roadways understand what they need to know to be on our roadways, and not that they somewhat cheated their way through and are running into the back of all of us. So if you have any ideas on any of that, now here's the unique thing. We have what's called basic priorities or emerging issue projects. in our HP and our CDL PI program. And what are those different initiatives? We have an opportunity for you to put a grant in that can combat human trafficking. So in our HP world, where usually our law enforcement folks live or on the roadway, we have an opportunity for you to put in a proposal on what you can do to help combat human trafficking. On the CDL side, it is the same. So we're not just about on the roadway or on the roadway or just getting your license. There are other opportunities that you can look at. And when our notice of funding opportunities come out, you'll be able to see all the opportunities that you can apply for. My last discretionary grant is the Commercial Motor Vehicle Operator Safety Training Grant, or CMVOST. This is the smallest annual grant that I have. It is only $3.2 million. You know, I'm saying only, but you know, if this was my personal money, I would be happy to have it. But in the grant world, after I said 1.2 trillion, now I'm saying 3.2 million for this program. This small program is probably one of the most impactful programs that we have. Why is that? What the CMVOST does, it provides an opportunity for military members, prior military members, and some of their family members, students in underserved community and refugee community to get their CDL. Basically, we will pay for them to get their CDL. I say that because it is life-changing. If you can pay for someone to start a new career, that is life-changing for them and their family members. $3.2 million is all this is. And we have more applications than we do funding. So what happens here is a university, an institution of higher education, usually our community colleges and our trucking schools will apply for these grants. And they'll say, we want to cover 40 students this year. We'll look at all of the qualifications, and if they meet the merit process, then we will award them that. But since we have such a large number, sometimes we may reduce that 40 to 30 just so that we can fund as many as we possibly can. The eligibility here is that you must be an educational institution with accreditation recognized by the U.S. Department of Education, or a non-accredited institution that are approved by the U.S. Department of Labor. Let's talk about the process. This is where I think people say, wow, that was great. So where do I line up to get the money? Well, unfortunately, you know, this is the government. There's a lot of paperwork. There's a lot of that dotting the I's, crossing the T's, underlining the things you need to underline, drawing blood, and giving your second and third born. Well, we don't want that process to be difficult. But the way the process works, and what I would urge you to do now, is visit grants.gov. When you visit grants.gov, you have the opportunity, once you put your account together, you have the opportunity then to have alerts. So I would say do keywords like transportation. And don't focus on just transportation. Again, focus on other things. You know, like I said, transportation is universal and you can apply for things here. If you are a transportation research center, see what DOJ, Department of Justice, has out there that you could probably tie into. Make sure that you are broadening your possibilities here. So visit grants.gov. You can find out what the notice of funding opportunities are. The notice of funding opportunities is basically an outline that tells you who's eligible, what type of projects you can submit. You have to give background information on what you plan on doing. You have to tell us why it's important. A lot of times you have to do a trend analysis to defend why you want to put something forward. Then you put a project plan together with milestones and state what your outcome will be. Now, a lot of that is where we lose folks, but we're going to talk a little bit more about how we will assist on that. So once the notice of funding opportunities come out, you register on grants.gov. But again, I recommend that you go in now and create your grants.gov account so that you can get alerts. Then you would complete your application and then you will await for a decision. That's the hard part there. Now let's talk about the difficulty that some people experience when it comes to filling those applications out. We don't want this to be a difficult process. So what we do at FMCSA and some of our partners within the department and the other operating administrations do, we host different websites providing technical assistance on what you need to do, how you need to fill the application out. We've even went as far as creating templates that we can make sure our applicants can use. We had one for one of our grants, and we're going to roll out that for all of our grants for our next go round. Because again, there are sometimes the smallest things that will take someone out of consideration. And the sad part about that is that the project was a great project, but just because of a technicality, they were not able to move forward. We also have a funding conference once the notice of funding opportunity comes out. We literally walk through that notice of funding opportunity, and we will ask if there are any questions or concerns so we can cover everything at that particular time. We also encourage you to please visit our website here. On this website, you will see links to telling you about grants. You'll see the eligibility and the NOFO information you'll see application submission, award determination, and any other tips that you may need to help you fill that application out. So we do not leave you standing alone. Now, one thing about the Federal Motor Carrier Safety Administration, we are all across the country. So I'm here at headquarters, and you met two of my colleagues earlier, Regional Field Administrator Tab Kelly and Dr. Georgia Steele. And there are 4 regions that we have across this country, but in each state, we have a division. So you are not alone, and we will help you as much as we possibly can. We will point you to these various resources that we have as well. I believe the slide will be PDF'd and sent out to all the participants. So you have the contact for my team here. For the MICSAP and the High Priority Grant Program, you can reach out to my chief of our state programs division, John Lohmeyer. And for CDLPI and CMVOST, Wendy Cunningham, my team lead, can assist you on that. Bottom line, the money is here. You're here. You need the money to support the activities that you're doing. And what I've learned in my time in meeting with HBCUs and other educational institutions is a lot of times it's not even about the money for the university. It's the money that you receive so that you can have the students benefit from it, from getting an education in the areas in which you are going to lead these particular projects in. And again, that is very important because this is moving our future forward. And in moving that future forward and working with those students, that's where the innovation comes in. That's where the unique ideas that some of us people that have been around for a while are not even thinking about. You know, I can't play the Nintendo like I used to. My nephew and nieces kind of go around me, but I used to be really good with Pac-Man back in the day, but it doesn't work always like that anymore. But again, we are here to assist in making sure that we are partnering with our HBCUs, educational institutions, organizations that want to move forward and help us get to zero. We are here. Let me say that clearly. You are not alone. We are here and we will help you through it. And the particular grant that we gave to Dr. Aaron and the Howard University Transportation Research Center is one to put this event right here on. So no one ever thought about that. So when it came across my desk, I was like, this is kind of good. They kind of do know what they're doing over there at Howard University. So if you can be innovative such as this is your opportunity. These are the grants that are out here for you. And with that said, thank you for your time, and I can take any questions now or after or where we have it.
So we can do everything in Q&A session.
Okay. All right. Again, thank you for your time. Thank you all.
Thank you, Mr. Newman, for that amazing session. So next, I would like to invite Dr. Jehani, Transportation and Urban Infrastructure Studies Professor from Morgan State University, to talk about her RANT experience.
Hello, everyone. I'm Mansoura Jayhani, Morgan State University. Can you hear me? Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear
We'll
you.
also be on a short break. About 5 minutes.
Oh,
Just
so we're gonna have break first?
I think Dr. Jan is online.
Okay, we'll be waiting here.
In the meantime, would you please put it in the full slideshow? You're only seeing, the presenter view with the notes. Maybe you need to switch the screen.
Yeah, on the display setting, you choose there's two options there. On the top left corner, choose the display setting there. You should be able to switch the slideshow and speaker. We can hear you, Stephen.
I think because the laptop is connected to the audiovisual room, the main display is being displayed on the screen while the laptop is only taking the slideshow mode, which is what you're seeing in the virtual meeting. So we'll try to figure that out, but if we can't, we'll just have to deal with the slideshow being shown.
Yeah, that's fine. Thank you.
Yeah. Login this here, so. Dr. Jehani, would you be able to speak? So we have you on the speakers.
Yes, can you hear me?
Perfect.
Thank you. And maybe we should check Dr. Ono.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes. Yes.
Great, thank you.
So you can speak and let me know whenever I need to change the slides. I can change the slides from here.
You want to go back to the first slide and Dr. Gianni can begin.
Yeah, thank you. I'm gonna give some introduction of what we're doing here first.
So I believe this is the first slide.
No, if you put it on the one before this, just the, yeah.
Okay, Dr. Gianni, the floor is all yours.
I have a presentation. Would you, yeah, take it to the next page. Sorry. Sorry, what did you ask?
You can begin, Dr. Gianni.
Okay, hello everyone. I am Mansoura Jaihani, the Director of National Transportation Center at Morgan State University. So we are a 30-year-old center at Morgan. We have been doing research in all different kinds of transportation, surface transportation areas, especially mobility and equity recently. We are proud to say that we are one of the 2 HBCUs to be the lead of a regional University Transportation Center funded by USDOT. So we are the lead of Mid-Atlantic region, and we are working with Howard University in that consortium. We are also part of 4 other UTCs, University Transportation Centers. We have been working with FMCSA for the last 5 years, and we have done several projects with them on high priority research. We are presenting one of the research that we have done with FMCSA. We recently finished that one. And I have Dr. Anam Ardashiri, our postdoctoral research associate. He's going to present about the comprehensive study on commercial motor vehicle safety using ITS in work zone on freeways and arterials. Thank you.
Next slide, please. Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Anam Ardashiri, and I'm very pleased to be here presenting one of our recent research works that was funded by FMCSA. And it's about the safety of commercial motor vehicles in work zones. And the reason is the safety of motor vehicles in work zone is really important. There are a lot of fatal crashes. And I think that 10% of the crashes in work zone are being accounted for, blamed on commercial motor vehicles, which is way higher rate than a normal, highway setting. Because of their, the lack of maneuverability and speed control and visibility. It's really important to work on this and find technology strategies to improve safety of both workers and vehicles in a work zone setting. In this study, we wanted to employ and evaluate different methods of ITS, which is intelligent transportation systems, and also connected and automated vehicle technology in a work zone setting for commercial motor vehicle to be able to improve the safety of all road users here. And in this research, a lot of grad and undergrad students actually participated and learned about the importance of safety, how we do research to improve safety of highway, freeway, arterial, especially in a work zone setting. Next slide, please. In Morgan State, we have a driving simulator and also a bike simulator, which enables us to do a lot of human behavior, human factor, and drivers' behavior type research to understand the complexity of drivers' behavior, to be able to improve safety of road users. We created a big network, kind of realistic network in our driving simulator that you see a portion of it here in the screen. It's in Northeast Baltimore area, and it's a mix of arterial, ramps, interchanges, and freeway, which is I-95. We made 3 different work zones in this network. One was in arterial, just 1 lane closed. The second one was on a ramp, on a freeway ramp, just 1 lane closed. And the third one was again on freeway, 2 right lane closed. That was a nearly 3 miles of a drive for our participants who came actually and did the test for us, and nearly 5-6 minutes drive each time. Next slide, please. As you see in this screen, there are 3 different work zones that we kind of replicated in our network. And we were able to develop 20 different driving scenarios to test different things, to test different hypotheses here. So obviously we started with a base scenario, which we didn't have any work zone in our network, the same network. And then we added the road work, 3 different work zones in the 3 locations that I showed in the last slide. And then we adopted different ITS and connected vehicle technologies, which I'm gonna explain a little bit more in the next slide. And then we, can you go back? And then we simulated this driving environment under different weather conditions like dry, rainy, and foggy condition, as well as daytime, nighttime. Also, the simulator had the capability to increase traffic volume and make a congested network, some sort of rush hour type, and then non-rush hour network, lighter traffic volume. Next, please. So in our base scenario, I want to give you a little bit of background about the scenario, the 20 that we developed and had people to drive for us. In the base scenario, we had work zone, and without any warning, that was the first scenario that we tested after we put the work zone, without any advance warning, no signage, no ITS, no portable message sign or DMS. And then the second scenario was having static signage like you used to see in the roadway, like road work 1 mile ahead, and then when you get closer, road work like half a mile ahead, be prepared, stuff like that, static signage. And then in our ITS scenarios, totally 5 scenarios, we tested a combination of portable message sign, variable speed limit signs, automated enforcement, queue warning sign system, and also dynamic lane merge system. We also simulated connected and automated vehicle technology by showing a message like you see in the red box on the bottom right figure that popped up in the screen when they were driving, like work zone entrance ahead. And also we made it audible as well. And in our most advanced scenario, we tried to take control of the car and mimic a fully automated vehicle, like level 3 automation scenario, which the vehicle itself controlled the car, and upon passing the work zone, gave control back to the driver. Next slide, please. In this study, we were able to recruit 55 participants in the campus and outside the campus in Baltimore. It was a paid study, and our biggest challenge was to find commercial motor vehicle drivers, license A or B. We were only able to get a handful of them, so the rest of our participants, the majority, were regular Class C drivers. We did the IRB process. We had the participants to sign a consent form and do a pre and post survey questionnaire so we can have the demographics, age, gender, driving experience to be able to make a behavioral model. As you see in the screen, we used this Forum 8 driving simulator with 3 large screens that could show the network as drivers move to the network. We also had an eye tracking system which could measure and record the eye movement of the subject. Next, please. Before getting started, we actually had the drivers or the participants to get acclimated with the network, do a little bit of test drive, get comfortable, and then we started those 20 scenarios that I explained. Imagine we collected a lot of data. So we had 55 participants. Each participant drove 20 times because there were 20 different scenarios. And then in each scenario, our simulator was collecting second by second driving record of the drivers, of the participant. Driving records included speed, acceleration, deceleration, brake use, lateral distance, movement, jerk, throttle, and a lot of other information in a 3D environment for us to evaluate. And then we had 3 different work zones in each network. So it was a ton of data that we had to do cleaning. So it needed to be automated. So a lot of huge spreadsheets of data second by second. And we only needed to focus on those 3 work zones, like a minute of driving before and through that work zone. So we had to write macros to extract the variables, the important variables that we needed to evaluate driving behavior. Next, please. So out of those 55 participants, some of them were outliers. We couldn't use the data because it was not saved properly or incomplete data. So we ended up using 51 participants' data, all 20 scenarios, all 3 work zones. Also, it was a large database, but still it's not large enough to do crash analysis. We didn't have a lot of crashes. So to evaluate safety, we focused on 5 major variables that the driving simulator was measuring for us. The most important one was the speed. So we tried to evaluate and measure speed second by second as they were getting close to the work zone and changing lane and passing the work zone. Other variables that we looked into were brake, jerk, throttle, and another important one was lateral movement of the vehicle, which the simulator was measuring based on the distance to the right border or distance to the offset of the highway. Either way gave us the same result. So we focused on the distance to the right border of the highway. Next slide, please. Before getting into the data analysis, I want to just share you some high-level statistics of our participants, like socioeconomic data. The majority were male, 60%, 40% female. The highest age group were between 26 to 35 years old. Biggest ethnicity group, African American, almost 60%. And you see the rest. On the right side, there's some questions that we asked them about level of their familiarity in with CAV, autonomous vehicle, connected vehicle. So only 32% had good prior knowledge about CAVs, while 26% they did not hear about it at all. And 56% found CAV feature helpful for safe driving. And 67% stated that CAV function would be useful tool for safe driving after they did the testing. Next slide, please. This is a high-level illustration of just one of the work zones. As I said, we had 3 different work zones with different lane configuration. So I'm just focusing for the sake of time on work zone number 3 and showing you the layout and also some preliminary results. So you see we had like 4 lanes in this part of freeway where 2 lanes, 2 right lanes were closed. On the top left, we had the work zone, but there was no warning sign in advance. So drivers just got to the work zone without any advance notice. Bottom left is showing our static warning signage system, where we had 3 standard signage on the right shoulder. Top right shows the location of our ITS warning system, which is a portable message sign showing that work zone ahead. And then the right middle figure shows where the automated driving got activated, and basically the simulator took control of the vehicle right after the last sign before getting to the first, before getting to the taper zone of the work zone. And finally, the bottom right shows the CAV warning, where the audible and visual message popped up in the middle screen in front of the drivers to warn them about this work zone ahead. Next slide, please. Just very high level aggregate analysis. I don't want to read the numbers, just want to tell you that we started with aggregate analysis. So we in the rows, you see all 20 different scenarios, and in the columns, we calculated the average speed. This table is the average aggregate speed and variance of all 50 participants, 50 something participants in each scenario in some major benchmarks, like right passing the first signage. The second column is right at the second signage, and then third signage. And they got to the first cone, to this third cone, and in the middle of the work zone and passing the work zone. So we picked some points to be able to measure and compare different scenarios for the same exact location. We did the same thing for work zone 2 and 3, obviously, and for all other variables to find out, to have a big picture of how average values are changing as people drive along the network. Next slide, please. I have a lot of slides here that are showing graphically showing the changes in the measure of effectiveness that we picked. Again, let me remind you, we focused on speed, brake, throttle, jerk, and lateral distance, or distance to the right border of the vehicles. In these graphs that I'm showing, you see the location of cones, which basically shows where the where the work zone was located in this highway, work zone number 3. In these 2 graphs that show speed and brake, I'm comparing the base scenario, which we didn't have a work zone, obviously, with the work zone under no warning or signage, the orange line. The black line is, no work zone, base scenario. It's like, a smooth drive for the drivers. But the orange one is where they actually were facing a work zone without any warning. This both of these tests were done under the same weather condition, daytime, dry weather, and the same level of traffic volume in the network, same traffic level. So this, as you see, they show that drivers slow down as soon as they hit the first cones, or the first cones were visible to them about 700 feet in advance. And statistical tests like ANOVA or t-test showed significance drop in the average speed. And as you see, people have been pushing much more forcefully the brake pedal. In the next slide, we are comparing the other three variables. If you can advance jerk, throttle, and lateral distance. The bottom right is lateral distance, where you see they're changing lane because the right lanes are closed. The two right lanes are closed, which kind of indicate the need for an advanced warning. As you see how sharp the throttle and lane change is happening. Next slide, please. So in the next few slides, I'm comparing other different scenarios or trying to answer other research questions that we had. So I just walk over them very quickly, and then at the end share the conclusion with you. This slide is showing the speed analysis of 5 different scenarios. All of them were happening under the same environmental condition, daytime, dry weather condition, and heavy traffic condition. The differences are, one of them is, all of them we have the work zone, but one of them there's no signage, the other one static signage, then we have ITS signage, automated, and finally connected and autonomous vehicle technology, which that automated scenario had the highest or the biggest difference across the group here. And I think it's visible in the next slide if you can advance, especially in the lateral distance, top left, where the lane changing is happening much earlier than the other scenarios, that human-driven scenarios. Next slide, please. So here we tested 4 scenarios under nighttime, rainy weather condition, and mild traffic, sort of off-peak traffic condition. So ITS, static sign, automated, and CAV. Again, CAV or automated scenario had the highest speed, and following by ITS scenario, and also it had the highest drop in jerk and throttle, as you see. Next slide, please. This slide, in this slide, we compared ITS versus static scenario on the rainy night. It was nighttime, rainy condition, and heavy traffic. So the lane change, we noticed that happened earlier in the ITS scenario compared to the static signage, indicating that the ITS warning, like the portal message sign, was more effective than the static signage. Next slide, please. Here we compared ITS versus CAV scenario under foggy condition, heavy traffic in daytime, and drivers generally maintain a longer lateral distance to the work zone in the CAV scenario compared to the ITS, but the change was not statistically significant. Next, please. In this scenario, we try to compare static sign versus ITS and CAV under nighttime, dry condition, and mild traffic. And Again, speed analysis didn't show any significant change. As you see on the top left, they're kind of, following the same pattern. And the reason was, in a mild traffic setting, they had enough gap to change lane and slow down before getting to the work zone. Next slide, please. We try to evaluate the effect of traffic condition. So everything else is controlled except traffic condition. One is heavy traffic, like peak hour, the other one off peak. Both of them are showing work zone with no warning or signage in advance. And as you see, that traffic volume is showing significant effect on drivers' longitudinal behavior, like speed and brake, while we don't see any significant impact on the lateral behavior of the drivers. So you're seeing that they're changing lane, they're slowing down sooner and harder in the blue line, which is the heavy traffic condition, and also pushing brake much more forcefully on average. So this is again aggregate analysis. Next slide, please. Here we again control everything except the vision. So driving in a dry condition versus a rainy weather condition for motor vehicles, commercial motor vehicles on their work zone with a static sign. Here we didn't notice any significant behavioral change in the speed or lateral distance or throttle. There's a little bit of difference, but no significantly statistically significant. And finally, next slide is showing the importance of visibility condition, where we have again work zone with a static warning, rainy weather, and both are heavy traffic conditions. So between daytime and nighttime, again, not significant changes in the driver's behavior. So let me go over some concluding remarks in the next slide. Overall, I would say signage and warning are all effective when compared to no warning method in advance. And what we found was, which is also intuitive, people first slow down their speed and then start making the lane change if they need to, because of the blockage of the lane due to work zone. Static sign showed more of a reactive behavior of the drivers, but ITS system and CAV mode made the drivers proactive by giving them, alert warning, so they could do the lane changing or speed slow down much upstream before getting to the work zone. Automated vehicle technology had the fastest return to normal driving condition when drivers passed the work zone. Adopting CAV and AV in commercial motor vehicle would be a major step toward highway safety in general, and specifically for the work zone application. Under heavy traffic condition, when lane changing is hard because of lack of gap, the role of CAV and AV becomes much more significant to control and maneuver the car along the work zone. And when approaching work zone, CAV mode created the smoothest driving behavior, such as when it comes to lane changing or brake use, or kind of more of an eco type driving behavior or lateral position. And in general, CAV application, which are more of a in-vehicle safety system, are much more better than generic warning systems such as ITS or DMS, VMS that are generic or generating public messages about safety or other purposes. Thank you, and I can take any questions. That was my last slide.
Any questions?
Everyone is from the Metropolitan Police Department.
This view fine for here or? It's, okay. So that's what happens. If you see this view, they get to see the entire view or vice versa. Okay.
Good afternoon, everyone. As I was introduced, my name is Matthew Mall. I'm a sergeant with the Metropolitan Police Department here in the District of Columbia. Oh, sorry. Oh, there you go. Now everyone can see my